How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today we're going to test drive this big old beast, the Kolob 74941. There's quite a lot to be said about it, actually, not in a bad way. That's why the video is a tiny bit longer, but yeah, we'll get stuck into it. First thing, obviously I'm going to go for the top engine, but you'll notice that the power to weight is 2 bars off full, which is a nicer sign than things like the Derry. The gearbox, the advanced special, so I think that's the best one. There is no raised suspension. As for tyres, I just ignore this chart now because it says these bottom two, like when you actually look at excellent blah 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 on mud and all that, you would think the bottom two, but I use them on the cat. I think I would pick one of these top two, and I'm picking the top one because it's basically the same tyre, it's just the tread pattern is deeper. My personal preference, if it had chained, I'd rather them. Advanced winch, it can only have a high saddle on. Now I was like, what? Why the hell would you ask me? It's free. Put 2 on and let the other one fall off. I don't give a shit. Like, Jesus. I'd have... give me false limbs if they're free, I don't care. Obviously I don't need them, but cost you an arm and a leg normally. Yeah, diff lock engageable, snorkel, obviously it's like up to the roof, so not a bad sign sort of thing. It's about the same height as the Derry, to be fair. I wouldn't say it's like past the roof. As for the exhaust, they are definitely a smoky beast. Like, I'm glad they thought of Ray Charles. They can drive along with Stevie Wonder in the Navistar, but yeah, like, it's not perfect, but those ones that chuck it out to the side, it kind of splits the smoke up into 2 less dense banks. Like the ones that just stick it straight up, it just ends up as one big dense bulk of like smoke. Looking at a beak, I don't know, it's like choosing your favourite nipples. I just went for them ones. Quad horn, like, well, 8 horns, that's right, greedy bastard. The reason I've not put the light bar on this one is only because I know I'm not going to really be doing nighttime or anything at the minute, and it removes the other beaker. I just like it's a bit of a different setup, so like, I'm not really. I've seen the fog light on them all. As for the bumpers, it doesn't actually really add a lot. I know there is like 2 little connecting bits of metal that go underneath, but essentially that big fat skid plate is going to be hitting everything anyway, unless you hit something so tall you hit the front. But yeah, I would say it's so little difference, just pick a bumper if you want one. For me personally, doesn't that look like, it looks a bit sad. It's like it lost a loaf and found a Derry. So for me personally, the I don't know, that bumper makes it look a bit happier. But the edges of that bumper, you'll see later, they might catch a little bit easier, so you might want the other one. I think I just stuck like a sun visor on, and then the rims, there's only 3 choices. I think that was what it was like for the cat originally, but there's more now for that. Right, the camo's a bit of a quirky one, obviously, as you can see. It's only colouring like the back of your chassis really, and the wing mirrors, so I can sort of go through the paint schemes, but you can't really see it a lot. I assume the first one was like camo, that's like blue and white. That's probably like the Derry Longhorn camo, that's like the greeny and white patches, and that's like a crapper green and white. So I'm going to add yellow on. It's not that I'd specifically choose it, it's just we can all see then what's painted and what isn't. So we'll go outside and take a look at the old beast. I think it like looks pretty damn good. I do like the look of it. I just like even the Derry, like this, the Derry and the other Kolob, they just look like nice big meaty vehicles. As for inside, it's more modern than I thought, if I'm honest. And considering how far away the mirror is, I wouldn't say I'd get a lot of use out of that personally, but I can sort of see it. Like, there's no view out the back, enough seats to fit all my loafs in though. I like that there's the window behind the sort of passenger door window. Again, that mirror, I can't really see my tyres or anything. The view, I wouldn't say it's crap, I can see behind me, but I can't see my tyres. I wouldn't know how they're reacting to the mud. That said, it's an advanced special gearbox, so it's not going to be like as nuts sort of thing as like a high range. The horn, it's not terrible, it's just not the right note. For something this size, you'd want like a big fat American sounding like foghorn type thing. Rev it up, funnily enough, if you look at the rev counter thing, it's basically mirrored the wrong way, so I'm sort of in the red line, and as I rev it, it goes out. But notice how quick it flicks up the revs. Like the Freightliner yesterday took about 5 or 10 seconds just in neutral to get to the top of the rev range. This thing's like a second, and it's about as high as it's going to rev basically. I can't really tell what it revs to. I guess I'd say 2.5, maybe 3, I don't know, because that's the wrong way. Setting off, like, stick it straight into high, but because it's the advanced special gearbox, you're better off quite a lot just putting it in auto. As for trailers, obviously all the towable ones, it can only have a high saddle, so you can only have high saddle trailers. However, that's the first trailer that I reckon actually sits out the ground, so obviously ground clearance really isn't going to be an issue with this thing. This is what I like, and I wouldn't say this is unique to this truck, it's more the gearbox, but in advanced special, this can definitely, it's got the power to do it, but in auto, 5th out of 5th gear, it just motors along, like it doesn't die and try and jump back down the gears like it does with the high range and the low range. It's just truck gearboxes seem to do that on this game. Advanced special, it's the same with the Tatrin and all sorts, they're just, as long as you're already in 5th, it's pretty damn hard for it to go like and drop back down to 1st or whatever. I let off there. I know it's like did just drop down to 1st, but I let off. Even in high range with the diffs off, like it still feels pretty nice, and like I feel like I'm making progress. Obviously, it's not going to be rapid because it's like the advanced special gearbox anyway, and that's just limited to sort of that. But yeah, I'm not expecting like a little nimble Lambo. It's a big fat beast, and it's like I still feel like it's capable though, and it's like it's going up there. I went into high up that hill. The Derry absolutely choked every time he tried putting it in high. Even in the low range it did. So well, for me it definitely did. Like it was pretty disappointing. Up here though, I'm in high. One thing I like about this, and you'll hear it a few times throughout the game, when it comes to a bit it struggles to it, rather than the revs die, they build, and it's like it puts a bit more effort in. But yeah, going along here is that sometimes, because this is quite wide, the natural tracks of this little sort of opening is like, this sits wider than it. The P16 had a similar problem, but other than that, like you say, that's just, most of the tracks are kind of like not as wide as this. But even up that hill I put it in high and it was fine. Now I can put it in auto, and again the advanced special is very good for just, once you're in 5th, a lot of stuff just stays in 5th, and it slows down there a bit. Obviously I've not got the diffs on, so a few wheels were able to spin up. I clipped my chin on there, and you see it didn't even drop out of like top gear in advanced special. So you can actually, like, obviously not in some serious off-roading, but even on mud dirt roads like this, it stays in top gear fine, which a lot of trucks don't. The Freightliner was a bad one for it. The Derry was really bad for it. Even on a slight downward slope, I went from a paved road to a solid dirt road, and the Derry still dropped down to 1st. Again, that's as fast as it's going to go because the gearbox. Very nice to know though, pretty proud of it. 3 out of 3 on the trees, which, yeah, for me it's definitely worth. There's a reason I hate trees, and that's because I hit some when I was doing my missions, stopped my truck dead, detached my trailer, flipped my trailer, cargo went everywhere. So yeah, now I factor in, can I kill a tree in an emergency? Or well, I know I kill trees for fun, but you know what I mean. Through there, like obviously in high it was going to start lighting them up a bit, so I just stuck it in low with the diffs on and it was fine. Through here, straight back in high. No, like, it's very hassle free. This is one thing I do like about this. You can obviously, like, the other Kolob, I'll just say, in fact quickly, like, you can see it's in high, and as I get to this bit I put it in auto, it's straight into 3rd or 4th out of 5th. The Derry, I did the exact same thing and it died. Yeah, just like, the reason I didn't do the other Kolob is because it felt like it catches its nose, like its underbelly more. And look now as well, the steering, I think, and again I appreciate this is slower than like a high range gearbox, but the steering feels perfectly matched to the truck. It is actually pretty damn nice and nimble considering the size of the truck. I thought it'd be a lot slower. Over rocks and that, like, I honestly don't know if I even took any suspension damage this whole playthrough tonight, so I would say pretty damn strong. Like, obviously all these rocks it's just bumping over, and yeah, it's never really going fast enough. I even smashed into the barriers a few times. I'm not saying suspension damage is impossible, but there's no way it's going to be a worry while you're just doing and, you know, going about your business. Over here as well, once I'm past that first bit, This did pretty well through the first bit, but it's about this fast anyway. Those trees are a bit of a troll. I'm not going to blame this for that. It does that to every truck. Yeah, once I'm in high-low, it just trundles along here just fine. This would be a perfect one like the Cat, as I'd happily tow cargo over myself with this, but if not, it'd be a pretty good like winch ferry for other quicker trucks on the road that then get here, and it's like, oh, it's going to take you 5 minutes to get across. This just took like, I think 40 seconds or something, which a paved road it probably would have took 30, 35, so yeah, very good across there. I know I've not got the diffs on, I do every other truck here in high range, so I wanted to know. Snow, it was fine there. Even here, it stayed in high range. Catches the steps for a second, still in high range. This thing is nigh on impossible to stall in high range, I'll show you a bit later. Gets over there. This is where I prefer chained. Doesn't want to know with that rock. Absolutely. As soon as it touches it, it just skids straight around it. And then again, this is another reason. I appreciate this is Alaska, but you'll see later on why I prefer chained as well. Once I get 3 wheels over, they're now touching the road, and the chained dig into the road. The muds just slip on it, which, like I say, fair enough, I'll give it a free pass because it's Alaska, but still, it's Alaska, chained would be nice. This is how not worried about the barriers I am, though. Even just instead of doing like a 5-point turn or whatever, I just reversed over the barriers. It definitely takes an extra second or so to bite on the barrier and lift up, but yeah, every time I went over barriers I got over them, so I can't knock it. Stick it straight in low rate, like high-low with the diffs on. And yeah, very comfortable again. Like, this is its speed, so, but it's not, it didn't hit them trees or the bush and slow down really or anything. It's just, yeah, progress is being made, which is nice. Fairly hassle-free as well, or very hassle-free. Just if you left it in high-low, it'd be fine all day long. It very hard to stall in high, and it's nice in auto. Going up here, I did let off a bit there because it moaned about the diffs just before I got there, but I'm stubborn, so I rode it out. Got up here fine, but again, like, it could be a bit sketchy if the rock was on a bit of an angle. Considering its big nose, it did sort of dig in, but it's got the muscle just to, in snow, it can shove its nose through snow. It's when you hit like solid rock that obviously it ain't going nowhere. I tried. Didn't have the best feeling because it's got a big nose and that big skid plate. But you never know. If it was a bit quicker, I think it would. It's just more top speed there than that skid plate is actually very nice for bouncing off. Funnily enough, I drove past here for the cargo. I was watching like Top Gear best bits because this was driving pretty slow. Stuck a YouTube video on. But reversing, I didn't even care. These trailers are like, I've seen people reverse them in real life. On this game, they don't want to know. That axle on the trailer just twists. However, I just reversed and shoved it out of the way. But if you notice near the end, I couldn't quite bite into the road to push the trailer around like I was trying to sort of turn reverse left, or reverse right, I suppose, but I was trying to get the truck to the left. Yeah, chained again, I think would have just bit down. If I did that in mud, it would have shoved the trailer out of the way, no problem. Right, this is what I like about the steering, and I know a lot of trucks got this, it's not like I've just discovered it, but the fact that both axles steer, just imagine chopping the whole nose and the front half of the cab off, so you've just got like where that back window is. Imagine that, it's kind of like a chunky Zix. It's then like a 6-wheel with a flat face, and just instead, when you watch it turn here, just watch like the second axle, because that's kind of what you can aim with. But then it's just got a big fat long nose swinging round. But I mean, look at the turning circle, was a lot better than I thought. And if you follow that second axle, that's more where it's going. It's like, because the turning axle's almost halfway down the truck, whereas obviously most trucks the turning's right near the front. Yeah, like the nose swings across very nicely once you've got full lock, and it's quite quick to full lock. And that was like ANK, White Western Star, Cat CT 680 good. Almost as good as the Derry, surprisingly. Like, no, the Derry wins definitely with its rear steer. I didn't move that trailer, one because this can't take a saddle low, but I then thought, sod it, it's got a bit of an easy time with this 4-slot trailer, even though it's not much different. But yeah, I shoved that trailer like not a problem at all. You see now where I'm catching this route, there's a bit of a new problem in these tests, but that's where the 747 feels like it catches loads of stuff, and I didn't even buy this until that long ago, because after the 747 I was like, nah, what, I'll get the Derry, and then I was disappointed with that. Yeah, once it did get its like skid plate over that tree root thing in the floor, then it was fine. Towing power wise, it is a bit of a monster, to be honest. Made it around that corner nice for its size. Water test. Again, I've not got diffs on or anything, but I was just curious. It did slow down a bit there. But even now I put it in auto, it's climbing up through the gears in auto. I have no doubt if I put it in high, it'd sort of motor along in high. Or, sorry, high-low with the diffs on. Yeah, like, not perfect, but it definitely ain't going to be an issue. As you see, though, because I've not got the diffs on, like, that would be, obviously I'm just testing out, but now I know if I went back there again, I'd just stick it in high-low, diffs on, through the water out the other side. I was interested with this part, because obviously it's a pretty chunky, wide truck. However, nicely, it's got the muscle, and it pushed its way through, which the P16 surprisingly did the same thing, but the Derry didn't. Derry got its steps caught, and I had to winch it through. This thing, yeah, credit where it's due. Deep snow and that there, high-low diffs on, like, this is its speed, so it's at its top speed basically, so I can't complain. It's just it is slower, like, you know that when you leave the garage in it. For some reason it's oddly relaxing to drive. I don't know how to, like, even though it's slow, I didn't feel myself getting impatient. It was just quite nice to watch it drive, and yeah, I don't know, I actually had more fun tonight sort of doing this. That's possibly why it's a tad longer, but there is, you know, there's reasons as well. Not necessarily bad, I'm just saying there is, like, things to be seen. Yeah, again, I was just looking out. I can see my wheels there if I steer, but I can't see the back ones. So it is what it is. View, like, I wouldn't highly recommend it if it was a interior view only. I do like, though, I forgot to mention, the A pillar has been split into two, and there's a window in the middle, so even if the little thin A pillar's in your way, not a lot. Right, that was trying to pull off absolutely still in high, and it stalled, and then I did it again, went like, what, half a mile an hour, and put it in high, and it fired straight up. Like, unless you are absolutely stopped dead, it's fine in high, which is a definite bonus, because it's hassle-free driving. Like I say, I might not be paying attention, I might be watching a video, I might be talking to my cat, all sorts, so hassle-free is nice sometimes. Here, I have to say, I knew I had a bad feeling about this, because after you go through this stream, as you can see, there's like a lip up to the road, so this was worst case scenario for this truck. And yeah, I tried 3 times, I couldn't bump the chin up, quick tiny bit on the winch. As soon as the chin bumped up, like the skid plate, I knew I'd be fine. But yeah, it's a downfall of it. I knew it wasn't going to be great, but all tonight, I don't know, it happened to me once there, maybe twice, I don't know. But yeah, I can handle a 3 seconds of winch every 2 or 3 hours like that. Ain't an issue. The 747 felt like it did that everywhere, even places where you're like, really? Like, how? But... And I thought they'd basically be the same, because the chassis basically looked the same, just this had a longer nose, so I went for the 747. Now, I'll save most of it for, like, I'll do a review on the 747, but I do prefer this. Through there, like, it hit its skid plate, but because it's just nice and beefy and muscly, it just rammed its way through the mud. Like I said, it's only solid rock, really. Like, you'll see now that the skid plate can't obviously just punch its way through it. It hit the skid plate there, but it's soon got climbing over. This is where I still think chained have the advantage. They bite up the lip of those rocks quicker. But overall, it's got nice quick steering. I let off for a second there because I did leave it a bit late, but I'd happily take a trailer over there. Like, this thing has got the muscle and the, like, just ground weight that it would be telling the trailer where it's going, not the other way around. If the trailer slips off those rocks, Again, I'd prefer chained, but I don't even think the trailer would pull the arse end of this round. I think this would just tell the trailer to get back up on the rock. And even all along here, obviously it's not going to be rapid, like the off-road Dolphin was pretty quick down here. But stick it in high-low, diffs on. Here's very deep snow that slows a lot of stuff down. It doesn't look it, but that's an awkward bit, that is, for a lot of trucks. Once you're along here, yeah, just ticking along, like, it still feels just fast enough that I feel like I'm making progress and I'm not getting that itchy feeling. Down here, like, it probably would fly up the gears in auto. I run over that tree stump. It does lift my back axle a tiny bit and hesitates for half a second, but yeah, I mean, like, it went over it. I'd rather run over a tree stump than send it under the middle of my truck. I'm not saying it will get caught every time, and there's no point in testing it because tree stumps are all slightly different heights. Sometimes you get over them, sometimes you don't. A lot of the time they do stop you dead. But yeah, I ran over that one and it was didn't really barely notice. Again, turning very nice. Like, it's nice enough to make this corner. I didn't have to approach at some big wide angle. Through here as well, like, no hassle really. It's just, yeah, it's just a bit of a slower truck in general. I also think if I had a trailer, it'd have the muscle to just yank the trailer round that tree, like it just forced the trailer sideways. Not necessarily recommended because it could tip the trailer, but you know what I mean. Like, I think if it didn't matter, like if it wasn't cargo to be lost, it'd just ram it round there. The P16, sorry, was the same when I did a big special cargo mission with that. It just rammed it over everything. Mud test, like, I was definitely thinking, wow, that skid plate, if anything, is going to be the issue. So far, high-low, it's pushing through the mud. I obviously wouldn't normally choose this path, I'm just trying to push it. But it was able to turn left and start to make its way out, so at this point I could have, you know, backed out, gone to the left and gone down the edge, but obviously we'll see what she can do. Tried it in like medium, low, blah blah blah. It definitely, around now, once the skid plate was nicely in there, I think if you sat here long enough on the revs, I would get to the other side, but realistically there'd be no reason why you would when there's trees just to the left. So I'm going to stick the winch on it. Just, you see, I'd rather that tree in front. Just turn your camera that way and it gets, like, it kind of rotates it round like a clock. So I don't know, it might save you every now and then from having to specifically winch. It's not perfect, but I knew it'd reach for one of those trees in front of me rather than to the left of me. Yeah, once I'm nearer the edge, as you can see, it's just high-low pace, but it just walked out of there basically, there's no issues. And I definitely think it'd pull a trailer through there as long as you just stuck to the left. So next up is the old mountain test. Again, high-low, doing very nice. By the way, that yellow painted back, it's growing on me a little bit. I'd have to have a second look at the other colours, but yeah. When I first picked it, it was purely just so we could all see what was painted and what wasn't, but I don't know, I don't hate it now. Yeah, going up here, I always knew the nose, like the nose at the end of the day is one of the truck's weaknesses. It's got a big nose and it's got a fat skid plate in the middle. The skid plate, quite often, is helpful. It's more this thing's nose that's going to catch stuff, but yeah, it's one of the weaknesses of the truck. You take it into consideration before you pick your line, really. I obviously could have gone further left there. I was doing like a nose test. See, even up there it reversed, and if you listen when it did, it hesitated for a second, and rather than dipping in the revs and going, oh, I can't do it, it was like, it rolled its sleeves up and it's like, right, one sec, builds the revs right up, and then it, same gear and everything, then it reversed up the hill. So yeah, it's just, it feels like it puts a lot of effort in. Like the Derry's like a little spoilt rich kid. Like the first thing you hit, it's like, oh no, get my butler to do it. And then the loaf turns up like, good evening, and solves everything. Rolling test. Pretty surprised / impressed, you'll see. Long story short, she is one hard beast to roll. Like, if you roll it, I'm proud of you. You've done you were taking the piss, or you've done something pretty good, because like it does not want to flip. Like, I'm not saying there's no weight in the cab, there may well be, but clearly the chassis is where it's at. Like, the cab plays second fiddle to the chassis. All the weight basically is like, chassis up is, yeah, not a lot going on. Chassis down is just one juicy fat slab of meat that's like, she ain't going. Or extremely, like, again, if you do it, you were you were pushing your luck, to say the least. The winch can't reach that tree. That's just where the loaf could. I was going to try and tip it over the with the winch. So you can sort of walk it sideways with a double steer, and sometimes that can be bad, sometimes it can be good. It's situational, but again, I cut a hell of a lot of this out. I was up in these mountains for about 20 minutes trying to roll this thing over. There's just, it lets go sideways before it rolls. I'd be interested. I would like to know if chained would have the same result. I still don't necessarily. Well, it's still extremely hard to flip, even if the tyre's definitely just dug in. Like, the weight's just clearly so low and it's so wide that it just wants to skid down rather than roll. So at the minute, I was like, well, I know people. Who knows people? Who knows a dolphin? Who knows a loaf? So, I mean, look at the loaf. Straight into action. It knows what it's doing. It's been here before. When you need something rolling, you send in the loaf. I mean, obviously, like, it helped that the it was on a steep hill, but the little loaf and its winch doesn't mess around. That's how big the tyres are on the Kolob compared to this. The little loaf's like, what's that? I'll shove you down the hill. See, a little loaf, it's got more muscle than you'd think. And this, look at, this is the magic of the loaf. Like, I can't fake this or stage this, right? Starts tipping, behind the trees, it's back. How the hell did it do that? In horse of a vehicle. Even I had to watch that back a few times, like, bloody hell. I don't know how it did it, but it did. I promise you there's no edits there. I don't know if I could get the camera angle that precise to smooth it through. Well overcooked it over here. But now you'd be thinking, oh, he's cocked it up. See? The loaf, it's been here before. It knows. This is what I wanted to do yesterday, and I accidentally bloody hit recover with a loaf. The only reason I didn't bring the loaf back is because the Freightliner is so light that it ain't even worth it. This is the type of meals the loaf likes. Like, the Freightliner was just not even worth the loaf's time. See, this is what, like, a truck couldn't reach from over this hill. This can, and therefore it makes the hill its wedge, and the Kolob is back over in seconds. Like I say, this is not some running joke with a loaf. It's a horse of a vehicle. I would pay, if the loaf was 200 grand, I'd buy it. If it was $1 million, I'd buy it. Probably wouldn't have 5 of them, but I'd have 1. Climbing up here, I purposely did it in high range, so no diffs. That's where obviously the 747, if it didn't catch its chin on it, would already be in the diffs even in high. See, this again is chained, no chained. It's not biting down, it's just wheel spinning. I moved it over, I crabbed it sideways a bit, and the hill angle changed a tiny bit. There's also a couple of the wheels can grab onto some snow. And yeah, like, power-wise, it walks up there. It was just grip then. If that was a... well, I don't know, actually. I won't say that. I'll take that back. Yeah, again, like, clips its nose a bit, but this is a lot better, I felt, unless they've adjusted it since, but this shoves its nose up and over things better than the 747, I think. Absolutely, you know, like, now, I was like, go on, tip. I dare you. Like, it wasn't even a concern at this point. I'd already spent half an hour trying to roll the bloody thing, so I suppose I kind of was trying again now, but just, yeah, a bit more mountain test, show you how she climbs. But as you can see, it wants to slide down, not roll, so it's never really going to be an issue. If it's an issue in this, it's an issue in everything. I mean, again, the reason I've got this trailer is I can't have a low saddle. Basically, the tyre width is too narrow on the loaf to get up there, but does it care? Of course it doesn't. It even took 2 attempts getting this thing up. But I was taking them with me for a reason, you'll see pretty soon. They fit nice and snugly on that trailer. Perfect. As I'm coming around here, again, pauses for a second, carries on with the revs, yanks the trailer around. This isn't obviously always happening, because you just see me drive stuff on the trailer, but it definitely I don't know if it's every map that you transfer over to the next map. The loaf, I don't know what it's doing, it's stealth mode inside the bloody trailer. Yeah, when you travel from Quarry to, Zimnegorsk to Quarry, it makes them do that. The loaf did its job as usual and got on the goddamn trailer. But when the Zix hit the trailer, it made it go like transparent, and then the loaf fell through, so I left the Zix behind for a minute. See, turning off the road, 5th gear auto, didn't even change its pace. Up here a tad, I reckon it would have got up there, but I just wasn't, I wanted to see what it was like. Low range diffs on. And yeah, as you can see, like I say, that's what I like. It builds the revs when it has a bit of work. It doesn't just bail out and throw the towel in. Doesn't mean that it's unlimited, but you know, it's like, you appreciate the effort. I left this little bit in. I don't know if it's these gooseneck trailers, but they disconnect really easily, I think. And I think it's a trailer, not this truck. Trailer started to slip. I was like, power-wise, I'm not arsed, but I reversed out the way of a stone. And it just disconnected again. That was like, the first time it disconnected, I was just driving down the hill. It wasn't even leaning off to the side or anything. Winch it for like 2 seconds. It's like, right, see you trailer, you are a free-range trailer now. I will never ever cash you in. And yeah, so that was plan A. Luckily, planned for such an event, because I was a bit unsure about the old gooseneck. I mean, it was nice to have a bit of speed. Just if you want to deliver cargo Colin McRae style, this ain't a bad option. I mean, admittedly, I don't know if you'll necessarily get there with all the cargo still on, but you know, from like a legal standpoint, when you're in a work meeting, like a disciplinary, legally you got there, you said sign here, your job was done. The reason I'm bringing this, by the way, is obviously I can't have a saddle low trailer, so I'm gonna do a bit of a workaround. Went down there, obviously, like, no risk of tipping. It did smash its nose, though. I did go on a pretty steep, I normally am a bit more over to the right, like on some of the trucks. Imagine it didn't do that unless I put it in specific reverse, because the Derry did the same, but, so I'll give the Derry a pass for that. It reversed up here, easily as steep as what the Derry attempted, and look at it, it has absolutely no issues getting itself up there, whereas the Derry got halfway and was like, nope, even with no cargo or anything. This is why I brought the Zix, because I can't tow a semi-trailer, but I can tow a Zix that's got a semi-trailer. And now I just removed all the fuel out of it, so it's now, the Zix is dead, it's just a trolley for the semi-trailer to sit on, effectively. And yeah, it was like, I could have done the 4-slot trailer, but it's too easy for this meaty thing, so I was curious how it'd handle this, and I'm glad I did, to be honest, because yeah, we'll see what happens. No risk of tipping, even if I had the trailer and it was tipping sideways, I really don't think so. But yeah, good start. High-low diffs on, walks up. Again, there's obviously, the Zix ain't helping, it's out of fuel, so it's just dead weight. Again, situational, but I like that I was able to just crab sideways then and get the exact part of the hill I wanted to. But if I wanted to turn sideways, it'd take longer because I'd crab a lot first. But once I'm at the top, I like the nose, feels like it pulls the nose end of the truck down. See, crabbing again, I did clearly hit that telegraph pole. That's what I wanted to mention. My bumper, I'm not sure, but maybe that extra bumper I added was just clipping the edge of that telegraph pole and wouldn't let go. However, didn't even have to put it in reverse, whatever, just let off the accelerator and it got over. Dragged the Zix up there just fine, so it definitely gets a pass on the quarry. even ramming like that trailer up over that awkward bump. Like, it's definitely got some muscle, this thing. However, this again is where things get interesting. I obviously at this point thought, yeah, walk this, no problem. However, as you can see, it gets to here, but the tyres are not locking up. So it's not a power issue, it's a grip issue, and this is where again, like, these are mud tyres, this is a mud hill, why are they not working? Whereas chained do. Every other truck I've ever done this test on has been chain tyres, and they either get up this hill or they run out of power. This, I can definitely say, hasn't run out of power, because it's still spinning 6 of the 8 wheels, no problem. The front ones are stopping here and there, but yeah, it's not power, it's grip. In some ways, I prefer wheel spin over tyre lock, because that means it's a grip issue, not a power issue. However, now I've actually got here with a grip issue, it's pretty annoying. I think I'd rather the tyres locking up now, because at least I know that's then a truck limitation. Now it's like, oh, what? I could get up here, but I haven't got the right tyres. And I can't have the right tyres because chained isn't an option. But I wanted to try something, because it didn't feel far off. So I stuck a bit of fuel in the Zix. Now the Zix definitely isn't driving that trailer up here even remotely by itself, so it's not helping a lot. But just because the engine's running in the Zix and it's not pure dead weight, I was able to start driving up then. So attempt number 2, I just wanted to be sure. It's definitely pulling the Zix up, so I just quickly nick the fuel back out the Zix, just make sure it's not a unlucky run or whatever the first time. Straight away though, or pretty much, grip issue again. So what I did was disconnect the winch, drove up a bit further, and just because the front 2 axles are on a slightly shallower angle and the nose is very light, it pulls the nose down, it gripped. But when I rolled back to the same steepness, it just can't handle it again. But it's, yeah, grip, not power. And I'm not anti-mud tyres, I'm just saying, can anyone name a place where mud tyres can go that chained can't? Because I can name places chained can go that mud can't, but I can't do it the other way around. That's what I like though, compared to the other Kolob. This is, its long nose here feels like it's really trying to pull the front end down, and that second axle, like the front rear axle, feels like it got a nice lot of grip there from just the way it's overhanging. See, power is, like, as you'll see now, is really not the issue. On flat ground, this thing has got some serious pulling power. Like, that's ripping the trailer through the mud and sideways over a rock. So very impressive that way. But yeah, sadly, I ran out of grip, and it's a shame, because I reckon this would have walked up otherwise. Normally I'd cut now, but I thought, sod it. I nearly disconnected the Zix there, but I figured the winch will be slack most of the time, because the Zix is quicker than this anyway. And yeah, all the rest has flew down here with the trailer, so I wanted to see. No problem all getting along here and dragging this thing behind, but I wasn't even thinking about angling the nose up, if you know what I mean. I was just enjoying myself before I recover. The Zix though, very conveniently rolled up next to me, and that little beast doesn't catch his chin. This is definitely a brilliant little truck. It's not the best in the game, but for 30 grand it's a bargain, and it's fun. And it's, yeah, that's important. This is how desperate I was to roll this thing by now. Got there. I mean, whether you like this truck or not, that's impressive. No two ways about it. Like, that'd get you out of some serious situations that you can get yourself in. Nose hits, yep, that's a weakness. I'm prepared to accept it, especially when it has, like, anti-rolling capabilities like that. So, I thought, well, I'm not one to just give up first try, so we'll try a bit of a steeper slope, or cliff drop. So I drop it off, and funnily enough, as you'll see in a second, I mean, it's officially rolled, it's officially stalled. I got it, I did it. But look, it's sat on some loose rocks, and if those loose rocks weren't there, it might have even rolled a bit further and just tipped off the cliff. But the rocks are there, it got me. Funnily enough, brought my loaf as I usually do. I brought the wrong loaf. This has not got the strongest, it's just got the stock winch on. Look, it's not enough reach. However, I mean, this is like, you know, high level rescue stuff now. Don't try this at home or anything, but there's more to the loaf than just a winch, so we ain't giving up just yet. The loaf's got it's got a 100% record. It's not about to give it up. I mean, does this mathematically even make sense? I stick a winch on the back of the loaf, use its face to wedge into the rocks. The winch is connected to the back of the Kolob, and I don't know, it's kind of using itself to, like I said, it's like lifting yourself up off the floor. It's just shouldn't be possible, but it is, because it's the loaf. It even rams it out of the way pretty decent, considering the size difference. Anyway. Alright, I'll try and bite on as I drop off. Like a little Jack Russell hanging on. But no. You see again, this is why you get a loaf. You'll be like, oh no, now I've got to recover. Not with a loaf, you don't. It's a professional. See, the winch didn't attach there. I find the stock winch to be a bit more trollish. However, because it can't reach as far, my distances rule out, so maybe it was just too close to the edge and it was not happy. Funnily enough though, attach the winch, didn't even have to attempt anything. Because when you attach a winch, the engine starts and the wheels drive. This thing rotated itself enough to where it just did that. So yeah, extremely impressive as far as all that goes. I left this in because I was curious to see what it'd do, and yeah, slow and steady, high-low, diffs on. I apologise, there was a little glitch there, but I assure you it just went at that speed through there. It's like, I would happily tow cargo along here. Funnily enough, you have to take 10 cargo down here to the oil refinery, and I did it with the ANK, winching another trailer, and it was slow, painful progress. Like, the ANK is great, but it couldn't handle 10 cargo down here. This, I wish I'd brought this as well. Obviously I couldn't do 10 cargo, but I could tow a 4 slot and then winch the ANK that's towing its own 4 slot, and I bet I would have done this a lot easier. And that would be 10 cargo. Even this bit, the ANK, even without cargo, most things aren't. The Tatrin goes through here, no problem. But most things do not like typical trucks. Even the Taiga doesn't really like this area. It's better, the Taiga, than, say, the ANK through there. But yeah, again, happily use it down there. Like, that's where I think the mud tyres, I don't think they're better, but they're definitely equal. Like, there's just no issues with mud tyres in sloppy mud, because it, yeah, like the tread pattern suits it and stuff. That was the top speed test. Not much, but again, limited by the advanced special. See how it just wants to go back to its wheels. And yeah, obviously I could jump off there, and if I do it enough times I'll land on my roof or something, but it really doesn't want to roll if it can help it. And again, I cut bits out, and possibly a little glitch there, but yeah, I got off there, no problem. And then we're off for the water test. No problem racing the water. Again, this is definitely, this is what she said, but do you not think this went in further than the Derry? Like, even though the snorkel is in like the just front right corner of the cab, maybe this is a bit taller, but I wouldn't have called that, to be honest. I would have thought the Derry is pretty damn tall, but I could swear this just made it a little bit further. You notice there though where I not hesitated, but I paused on reversing. It was because I was in high-low. I just went to hit reverse, and it's like, oh yeah, shit, I'm not in reverse. That bit me before taking the P16 over to that island, because I went into a bit that was a bit too deep, went to hit reverse, realised I'm in high-low. By the time I got it in reverse, the engine was in the red and it was, you know, popping flames and that. So that's why I tested it in auto as well. I forgot at this point, I hadn't even got a maintenance trailer. I mean, look at the loads, like Neo from the Matrix. Just realised I haven't got a van body, and it's like, whoa, hang on, best not take any damage. Well, I don't know what the Azov's doing. This is how I imagine a real dolphin would try and wiggle its way back to the sea if it was like sea rallying and it flew out onto the beach. Got a bit excited. Yeah, it's like a little, yeah, slippery dolphin trying to make its way back. But I mean, look at the loaf. When I said if a T-Rex turned up, the loaf ain't getting eaten, is it? Because it's seen Jurassic Park and it knows Ian Freeze. And obviously it landed on its wheels. When doesn't it land on its wheels? Not only that, horse of a vehicle. Didn't even need to use the cliff as a wedge. It just pulls the Azov over. This thing, for an 11 grand truck, is insane. Like, it does things it shouldn't be able to, but it does. And I swear, if they touch it, start messing with my loaf, I'll go Liam Neeson. I will find you and I will write a strongly worded email, because this isn't the movies. But, yeah, you leave the loaf be. Again, like, yep, no issues. It's only being awkward because the rear tyres are against that rock. Jiggled my throttle to make the Azov drive forward. Came back in a van body. Did get a little bit excited on the cliff, if I'm honest, but these things happen. See, this still, the van body, because it weighs nothing, it did want to return to its side. Anyway, while I was here, I was going to use the loaf, and I was like, well, actually, I want to see, I'd like to know. I purposely tried first in, like, just auto diffs off. Wheel spinning, or at least, like, with diffs off it can take the path of least resistance and it'll just light the wheels up that are not got a lot of grip. However, diffs on, the Azov even twisted there, and the Azov ain't easy to flip. But it does show you with a loaf, like, this even couldn't do it unless it had diffs on. Loaf is a little beast. Yeah, got that out. I was trying to winch to tip the Kolob over, but I was just pushing the Azov towards it. It was being a pain in the arse. Look, it wouldn't show any winch points on my Azov when I was behind the Kolob, which is why I drove out here. Just awesome winch reach, so that was not a problem. Like, don't you do it. That's why I'll reverse back here to try and get a winch between us, but it was just having none of it, so like, right, I have to bring it to the mountains and slap it around a bit. Squeeze me ass nice and low. Try and dig under the Kolob. I have to say, credit to the Kolob, it is a pain in the arse to flip over. Like, the loaf up to this point had 100% record. I was like, go on, please do it, loaf. Loaf's gripping on for dear life. No, slip this time, however. Magic of the loaf. She ain't dead. She's just getting warmed up. Not impressed. We're back. Attempt number 2. You'll notice, like, when I let off the winch, the truck jerks the opposite way. It's like, I don't know, it's a bit weird. I let off the winch too early, look at it, it fought me back. That's how, I was like, right. It's on now. It's on, Kolob.
Do you know what nemesis means? A righteous infliction of retribution manifested by an appropriate agent. Personified in this case by an honourable cunt. Me.
Right now, is that, what was that, Kolob? Bit bottom heavy, are ya? Well, guess what? My loaf is cock and balls heavy, bitch. I will throw every goddamn truck around this map whenever the desire to do so tickles my loaf's fancy. Ain't nothing you can do about it. Absolute horse of a vehicle. And then, so you jump down here, and you'll think now, oh, that's it. He's messed it up, and he's flipped the Kolob. Like I told you, 6 out of 4. You don't go down without a fight. That's why you get yourself a loaf. And at this point, I was like, oh yeah, well, I suppose I have to flip this fat beast back, since it's probably quicker than driving it back from the garage. I mean, look at this. Less than 5 seconds after I started pressing the winch button, and that's uphill, so I've had to, like, tip it from beyond 90 degrees. I mean, get yourself a loaf. I know every review inevitably turns into a loaf recommendation, but there's a reason. Like, it's good. Way underrated. And see, I don't have to get out of deep snow. The loaf has got mates. You're welcome. It just rescued that. Now it gets a free lift back down the snowy mountain, and we're off for a damage test. Look how happy it is. engine fully fixed. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to call it now. I don't think this beast is going to float. Starts taking some damage. It's not insane because this is pretty tall. It's definitely taking longer to get up to like the 40s and 50s. Definitely a 54 there, so like that's pretty. You're feeling it once you once you're in there. That's what she said. The derry though, I did drive in a bit. I went to a slightly deeper part. However, I did get 80 damage in the derry, so like this is happier in water than the derry. Let's just put it that way. So back to the garage, and that's it. In conclusion, I have to say, like I said, there's a lot to be said about it. A surprisingly good vehicle, to be honest. I wasn't holding my breath, shall we say, but I would say this, the 747 and the Derry Longhorn 4520 are effectively the same vehicles, as in they've got 4 axles, 8 wheels, they're big, massive, chunky beasts that should be towing behemoths. This one, out of all 3, is definitely the one I would have. Like, it's worth a go. If you got the money, give it a try. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I certainly was, and if I can, I would like to keep this. So yeah, pretty surprised, but in a nice way, and it's good. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.